let's say good morning and welcome back to the program to Captain Gary Griffith, former Commissioner of Police. Good morning to you, Captain Griffith. Welcome back.
Hi, good morning. Always my pleasure.
Captain Griffith, let's start this morning with Kamala Prasad-Bissessa's statement that when it comes to intruders in your homes, those persons who have FUL, who hold FULs, should light them up and empty the whole clip. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Well, as usual, anyone who is opposed to someone politically will try to turn someone's words negatively. And it is obvious what the political leader of the UNC, the opposition leader, was alluding to. She was actually explaining that, look, now everything, it's a case-by-case basis. She's not in any way, no, I can't speak on behalf of her, but I could easily pick up when it is I saw that what she was saying. She's not alluding to the fact that if it is that you shoot someone, you're just supposed to go for them and just finish them off. That is that, because if you interpret that, that is your right. That is your decision. But if it is you're politically against someone, you will think of that. That is not what she said. What she said, alluded to it. What I see is that and what we have seen in home invasions is that several people usually break into your home at any one time. These persons, most of them have assault rifles. An assault rifle, let me clarify to the country, is someone who has a weapon that can fire off in automatic mode 35 rounds in 3 seconds. So when you have that type of artillery, that type of firepower with numerical superiority on the hands of the criminal elements, what do you expect the abiding citizen who may have been fortunate enough to get a legal firearm by Gary Griffith, and that is just about 2,000 out of 1.4 million, even though this excuse for our Prime Minister says we were giving firearms to everybody in the country, that equated to about 1.15% of the country. The person obviously will have to do as much as possible with his sidearm. And if it requires you firing off all of your wrongs to try to pull back and to peg back the criminal elements, so be it. It is really unfortunate that people are trying to escalate comments made by Kamala Prasad-Bissessa into anything that is negative. We're in a situation where because of home invasion, the criminal elements now have some degree of control. And it reminded me so much of when I had a similar conversation with Fazir Mohammed once. And I said, Fazir, if people are shooting at you, what do you expect? You expect us to throw a pillow at the criminals? It is coming again. It seems that certain people always look after the rights of criminal elements over the rights of law-abiding citizens. And that is why the scales of justice have been tilted in that way, to the point that a senior police officer, thankfully he remained anonymous because he would have exposed himself as being the most stupid police officer in our police service. He said that if somebody comes up with a big stone, you have to use equal force. That is how flawed our laws are, which is why Kamala Prasad-Bissessa, when she speaks about stand your ground, it is not the letter of the law of the United States, but the fact is our laws are so outdated that senior police officer could very well believe that what he sees in the law is if somebody breaks into your home with a cutlass or a big stone, you must start walking around your house upstairs till find a big stone or a cutlass to ensure there is equal force and do not use your firearm, because the person has a big stone, you have your firearm, you shoot the person, you can possibly now be charged for manslaughter because it could be seen as excessive force. That is madness. That is ridiculous. Someone breaks into your home, you have to analyze the threat of the person to make sure you can measure it with equal force so it will not be seen as excessive force. This is why the laws must be changed. And that is what Kamala Prasad-Bissessa keeps speaking about with stand your ground. Because stand your ground is not the letter of the law to compare with what happened in the United States with Zimmerman, but to show that the scales of justice presently are tilted towards the benefit of the criminals.
It's interesting that you've certainly given us a lot to think about in your opening comments, but it's interesting that you went into the issue of the law, because we have been discussing this morning whether or not the law is proportional, whether or not the law is, well, not proportional, but fair in saying that your self-defense response should be proportional to the attack. And we raise the question, how does one, in the split second of needing to defend themselves, start to calculate and compute the extent of force coming towards them so that they can return an appropriate or equal extent of force in return? We ask the question, should the law afford FUL users more protection when using their guns in self-defense against home intruders? You started to speak about the law, Captain Griffith. Should the laws be changed at this point to give FUL holders and even persons who come under attack more freedom?
Exactly, and that is what Kamala Prasad Bisese is speaking about. When she keeps speaking about stand your ground, we have nothing remotely close to it. But people want to deliberately be mischievous to compare that to what happens in the United States with stand your ground. So when we have a deceitful prime minister always trying to say that what we are trying to say is that if a football goes in your yard, you have a right to shoot the child. Or if somebody is stealing your mango, you have the right to shoot that person. Or this is being done deliberately. And he said it again recently to show that this man is trying to divide the nation, to incite civil war, that this is for firearms to be given to one group to attack another, which is a lie. That has never taken place. In fact, of the 4,500 firearms issued by myself, more would have been given to Afro Trinidadians than anybody else, because half of it would have been given to law enforcement officers, past and present. So the lies that they continue to push, they're taken away from the facts of what Kamala Prasad Bisese is alluding to. The present laws, as you just stated, they are so outdated, it ensures that it is biased towards the criminal elements. You just said it as well. When someone is trained in understanding how to use a firearm, it is a 1 second decision you have to make, a split-second decision. What is happening now because of Keith Rowley, because of our laws, because of this ridiculous senior police officer who is anonymous, it is going to cause persons with firearms to second guess. And as soon as you second guess, that is going to give that person the opportunity to spend that 2 seconds to go up the stairs, to kick down your door, and to kill you. And that is what is happening now. Because of the immature actions of Keith Rowley and others, the comments that they are making, they are going to cause many persons with firearms to hold back. This situation recently with the lady who used her husband's firearm, this is a typical example. And another occasion will take place now, and somebody will be in a similar situation. My husband has a firearm. He's not home. People are breaking into my home to kidnap my daughter, to attack me. And I see his firearm there. I will start wondering, do I pick this firearm up? Do I try to protect my family? And because if I use it now, I could be charged for manslaughter. While she's thinking about that, they could have probably raped her, kidnapped her children, or killed them. That is how irresponsible we are seeing of the leadership in this country, because you are causing the persons who have firearms or access to firearms to second guess. Only in a banana republic could people be breaking into your home. You as a wife, as a mother, see that your husband has a firearm, he's not there. And if you use that firearm to protect your family, it is a possibility you could be charged for manslaughter because you are not the holder of that firearm. That is ridiculous. Or police officers stating that if the person comes with a big stone or a cutlass and you use a firearm, it could be seen as excessive force and you could be charged for manslaughter. It gets worse, because even if you do all the right things, 3 people break into your home with assault rifles, you use your one firearm, you shoot one individual, the other 2 escape, your firearm is now seized for several years. And now you are defenseless, and the 2 others who escaped could now, because of reprisal, target you because you may have spotted them, and now you could target them for them to be arrested. Which is why I started issuing many variations, because of the ridiculous system we have, that even if you did the right thing, even if you did the proper thing, your weapon is still going to be seized. Which goes to the point of the false, misleading, and mischievous comment by Ulla Christopher when she said that 100 firearms legally have been a source of investigations for criminal activity. That woman included that 95% of that were law enforcement officers who lost their firearms, misplaced it, had a negligent discharge, and also these legitimate firearm holders who use their firearms for the right reason to protect themselves, but know that legal firearm is part of a criminal investigation. And then you package that to give the impression that legal firearms have been a part and parcel of criminal activity. But then you lose your firearm and now you are defenseless because you did the right thing.
Captain Griffith, there are many thoughts that I have, many questions really, but I want to find out why are our laws in the way in which they exist. They seem to be protecting the criminals or giving the criminals unwarranted, in my view, an unwarranted extent of protection. Is it that these laws were drafted in archaic times and remain archaic, or is there, some part of me wants to ask, is there a vested interest in protecting criminals on the parts of those people who maybe holding power. We have often heard of associations between those who hold power and those who are in the underworld. Is it too far fetched to think that the system is deliberately skewed to not upset this relationship between those who are in power and those who hold guns?
No, definitely. Anyone who will question what you just said and say, well, no, it is far fetched, you're not facing reality. My wife, Nicole Dyer Griffith, for 8 years, she pushed for something as simple as pepper spray, for pepper spray, and the powers that be refused. Then, as we come now into firearms, I would have been providing firearms not for the rich and famous alone, that the Prime Minister and the previous minister and the Minister of National Security and the previous commissioner, between them alone, 70 people they wanted for their friends in high places. And for me, when I started pushing for firearms for the simple constable, the prison officer, the farmer, the small businessman, the one who wants to get a firearm to be involved in training for the Olympics, they had an issue with it, a big issue. You're hearing it. You are hearing a prime minister being bitter, emotional, to the point that why must people, law-abiding citizens have firearms? I don't want it to happen. And then when you look in the last 23 years under my watch, not one legal firearm was lost, stolen, or used for a crime. Yet dozens upon dozens of persons' lives have been saved because of legal firearms. So it can't be that you are so concerned about legal firearms, because he even made a lie and he continues to lie, speaking about a well-oiled criminal industry. That was the excuse to justify not giving law-abiding citizens firearms. Keith Rowley lied. He is a liar, and you could sue people for that. And I want him to take me to court because he kept claiming, based on a Stanley John fake report, that it was a well-oiled criminal industry. 2 years of investigations involving 70 police officers going on a fishing expedition and a witch hunt. They up to now, not one person, police officer or civilian, has been arrested for bribery or corruption or blackmail as it pertains to firearm. Not one. So it shows what a liar he is, and how Stanley John is a fraud. And Stanley John and I are going to court over my comments on it, because you have to be a fraud to accuse the police service of having a well-oiled criminal industry, and 2 years later, 70 police officers. You have 70 officers investigating legal firearms and not one police officer to deal with trying to stop illegal firearms from entering the country. So with the government spending so much time in trying to prevent law-abiding citizens from having legal firearms, from trying to remove a sitting commissioner of police who was instrumental in reducing crime to the highest in 17 years, that 89% of the country wanted him to return, that changed public trust and confidence in the police from 14 to 55%, and you decided to remove him. Is it really because you're that ignorant, or is it that Gary Griffith or anybody else was stepping on the toes of major criminal industry and it was affecting big business that could have been linked with this government?
We are speaking with Captain Gary Griffith, the political leader of the NTA, on the issue of whether or not uh, firearm user license holders should light intruders up in their homes as they come along. Gary Griffith made some interesting comments about Stanley John and Keith Rowley, and this is probably where I put the plug in and say that the views of Gary Griffith are not the views of the station. Lest we are not as tactical as Gary Griffith is when it comes to the issue of defending people in courts. But persons who have a longer memory would remember you are former Minister of National Security as well. And now, in his capacity as political leader of the NTA, Captain Griffith is involved in the issue of local government elections. Captain Griffith, as much as we've been discussing the question of self defense, the issue of self defense and the issue of lighting up criminals and emptying the whole clip, according to Kamala Prasad Bisesa, came up in the context of local government elections and the issues pertaining to national security. Your political party has been, for the past few months, involved in an accommodation with the United National Congress, and on social media there are photos. People are asking the question, what does Gary Griffith really hope to achieve on the east west corridor, with that east west corridor being such a strong PNM area, such a strong PNM base? Does Gary Griffith really expect to attract that east west corridor vote? How do you respond to those persons?
Well, it goes with that third constituency. That third constituency has always been there. It started in 1981 with the ONR with 91,000 votes. It then moved up to the NAR in 1991 with 127,000, then the COP with 147,000 in 2007. So it continues to build. And what we have noticed is that the majority of that so-called third constituency, that bridge constituency, whether you call it ONR, NAR, COP, NT, in 10 years it may be something else, but that is always there. And the bulk of that support has usually been along that east-west corridor. It involves persons in that area from Diego Martin, Port of Spain, Stanwell, Laventille, Tunapuna, Piaco, Arima, and even Point Fortin. And that has always proven to be the pendulum to decide the results of every single election. That third constituency, if they go on their own, you will usually see the votes being divided, between the UNC and that third party, and it will cause PNM to get over the edge. When this third party joins with the UNC or the ULF, as in 1986, it becomes an annihilation for the PNM. So I've been very strategic in what I have done. The persons have asked, well, gosh, why did you join with the UNC? And the maths is there. So for every 100 votes you have in the corridor, you will probably get 40 votes in for the PNM, 35 for the third party, whether you call it the COPD, and now it's the NTA, and about 25 for the UNC, or vice versa. So you go in a three-horse race, PNM will get 40% for every 40 of every 100, NTA 35, the UNC 25. But if they add the UNC and the NT and you do not turn it from a three-horse race into a two-horse race, and you ask both parties, if I go for the seat, you back off. If you go for that seat, I back off. 35 and 25 equals 60. And that is what happened in 2010 local government election that caused that partnership with the joint votes of the COP and the UNC to take the corporations of Diego Martin, Tunapuna, Piaco, Arima, and San Fernando. And that is why it became 11-3. And may I add, even Point Fortin is up for grabs at this time. So, and then also extra seats would have been taken in Samuel, Laventille, and Port of Spain. So the maths is there, the data is there. So people who have a concern with what I have done, Kamala Prasad Bisesa and myself have been very strategic, very tactical, and we are in it to win it. And if it is that people have a concern with what we have done, it is because you are basically stating, not even basically, it's saying that I wish you did not do this, but when the end result is that by not doing it, it would have caused the PNM to win. So it means indirectly you are already a PNM supporter, and you were hoping you would have seen a repeat of what took place in 1981, causing the votes to be split for a PNM easy success, 1991 with the NAR to cause an easy PNM success, and 2007 when the COP went on its own. I am not here to cause any situation that could assist the PNM. I am here to remove the PNM because what this country has seen is the ultimate angle of dictatorship of this country turning into a police state. I didn't want to go into the Brent Thomas matter. That for a fact, I can tell you as a security minister, as you mentioned, there is no way police officers could leave the country unless it was approved by the government. So the government is lying. The situation with the meritless have now taken Blissy Prasad to court because the police have refused to investigate because they are working to instructions. That is a case that could have been dealt with in 72 hours. 3 of the Police Service Commission members resigned in disgust. And that is where, when it goes to court now, Blissy Prasad will have to answer, why did you break the law? Why did you suspend a commissioner illegally? Why did you withdraw a merit list without the approval of the Police Service Commission? And did somebody influence you to do so? And if that person did, he or she would also be arrested. When you have situations like that, I am left with no choice but to do what is required to remove Keith Rowley.
Now, you're speaking about doing what is required to remove Keith Rowley. And just a few moments ago, Captain Griffith, you said that you and Kamala Prasad Bisesa are being extremely strategic. For some time, we have seen you and Kamala Prasad Bisesa on the campaign trail having joint platforms. But then, out of the blue, all of a sudden, in jumps Jack Warner from his corner straight into the political pie. Um, are you concerned that persons may be skeptical about Mr. Warner still, and that this skepticism will cause damage to the UNC NTA accommodation in these upcoming locals? Or do you think that the situation is different from that?
Well, the thing is, I have to be very careful. I mean, Jack Warner is not a member of the NTA. He's a member of the UNC. I will be, in local parlance, I'll be fast and out of place to be making public statements and pointing fingers at a brother or sister political party that I'm working with to say, well, why you brought that person? The UNC has 250,000 supporters. The NTA, the least we will have is about 150, similar to 2007, and probably more. When you add that up, are we supposed people to what? We're supposed to do a certificate of character to ensure that every single person is beyond reproach. And what makes it more interesting in the situation with Jack Warner holds no position of authority in anything as it pertains to this alliance. He's not a chairman, he's not a deputy political leader, he holds no position of authority. However, because of his personality, it is very large, and people will automatically point fingers. But Jack, if the person does not hold position of authority, what is the problem? The problem lies because of the fear factor that Jack Warner controls a very powerful arm in this country as it pertains to grassroots, especially in that east-west corridor. The reason I could tell you that is, unlike Keith Rowley, who spends 4 days a week on the golf course playing golf and then lying with his golf partners in the club, I have been walking the length and breadth of the corridor. Every single day for about 8 or 9 hours, I've been walking with candidates up to the heights in Scorpion, Caranage, in the Pyramid Hills, in Simeon Road, in Pity Valley, in Beetham, in Sealots, Lelson Street, George Street, Laventil Road, Bagatelle, Aruca, Maloney, Arima, San Fernando, and everywhere that I have gone, especially with Jack Warner, up in the hills in Lupino, every single person embraced him, thanked him for what he has done. So whatever negative you have with Jack Warner as it pertains to his international matters of concern, the man on the street, the average man who was suffering, who wanted to have somebody listen to him, who wanted to have a minister at the time, try to assist him, try to provide for him, Jack Warner was there. And I know that the benefits that would be received from this alliance as it pertains to that grassroots vote, which is very powerful, it is going to play a big part towards the outcome of the election. If it is that certain persons may have offense or object to it, yes, you very well have 1 or 2 people, but no decision is made in politics that is going to cause 100% benefit on one way to the other. So there obviously would be some degree of concern, but as I said, he holds no position of authority. Now, when it is we want to speak, I ask people, sometimes you need to look in the mirror, because when it is you want to, before you want to cast the first stone, you need to look and realize, as it pertains to political leaders, neither Kamala Prasad-Biswas or myself have ever been under an investigation by the Integrity Commission and had questions to answer. Other political leaders had to do it twice. We have certain political parties where an individual was being investigated by the police for depositing over 140,000 in cash, and until I left, it was still under investigation. We had an individual who was removed as a government minister for very questionable behavior, and now he has been given a diplomatic post to represent our country internationally. We have another one who was a minister who was charged and still controls the PNM machinery in the upcoming campaign in a cooperation. We have another one who was under investigation by the special branch with a damning intelligence report, and the Prime Minister decided to flippantly said, well, that's intelligence, that doesn't matter. Yet, when it is that you hire 3 civilians with no authority, they write a report based on what you probably wanted. You wanted to use that to try to justify smearing the character of others. So the point being is that the hypocrisy of those people who speak about Jack Warner, sometimes they need to look in the Balize mirror first.
We are speaking with the political leader of the NTA, Captain Gary Griffith, on a number of developments pertaining to local government election, pertaining to the question of self-defense, pertaining now to the return of Jack Warner to the fray. Captain Griffith, one of the issues that has emerged is the question of how will the next local government election play off towards a general election. Has the NTA and the UNC considered a relationship beyond the local government elections, and what do you have those considerations look like? The reason why I'm asking is because people who are skeptical about coalition politics, they want to know what about this can work and how about it will be done differently.
Yeah, well, what I have done, I have been looking at this to build a proper platform, a foundation, similar to 1983. I wasn't really involved in politics, we nowhere even close in 1983. But in 1983, under the local government election, the ONR, after realizing, look, we have played our hand with our third party, got 91,000 votes, couldn't get a seat because of our constitution being so flawed. We have no way of getting anywhere because we don't have proportional representation. That first party post would always kill a third party going on its own. So ONR decided to be a little bright, and in 1983 they formed a strategic alliance with the ULF, where the ONR went for specific seats on the corridor. The ULF stayed away, so the ULF supporters voted for the ONR candidate, and vice versa in central, southern areas and other areas that would have been seen as heartland ULF. It worked. There was a massive success as it pertained to ONR and the ULF forming that strategic alliance. That built a platform of understanding, mutual respect relationship to build the NAR into the 1986 general election that ensured the biggest annihilation of the PNM in our history. This is the same thing that I'm looking to do here, using the local government election as a platform to ensure that there's a good degree of collaboration, communication, cooperation, mutual respect between both parties, where we form a strategic understanding in that, again, especially along the corridor and Point 14, the UNC will not send up a candidate in that area. We will focus there, and the UNC voters will vote for those persons and vote for the NTA candidate, and vice versa. If and when this works, it now can build a platform to show to the country, you look how the arrangement worked, look how successful it was, and it gives us enough time this time around, because in 2010, it was rushed. Patrick Manning, he made a bold move because he realized that this alliance between the ONR, the COP, and the UNC, it was going to build. And the faster he called a snap election, it would have ensured a greater chance of him not losing as badly as he would have. And he would have seen that, because after the 2010 general election, there was a local government election, and the PNM lost Diego Martin. They lost Rima. They lost Tunapuna. So with that, it shows that this can work, and that is what we intend to do. Use this 2023 local government election as a platform and a proper foundation towards the parties working together to form a better strategic alliance for the upcoming general election.
Well, Captain Griffith, you've given us a lot to think about this morning, and we certainly want to thank you for the time spent with us. We look forward to the next conversation that we'll have sooner than later, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see you on the election hustings. Thank you for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.